we'll get started. Once again, thank you for joining us in our Virtual Innovation Center. This is specifically our health space, and it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the Smarter Health for Better Care by Telekom Healthcare Solutions. Today we have an exciting briefing for you, quite a few speakers. Most of you who have received the invite will have a look at the fact that we've got a formal agenda which is planned for the first 90 minutes. And then we have an extended networking session where we've received quite a bit of interest from a few of you. I will be taking care of the hosting if we move on to the next slide and have a closer look at the agenda. So from the main session, we have for you a few speakers. And I will introduce them as we go. However, for housekeeping purposes, I should inform you that we will record this session. The question and answer sessions will not be recorded, nor will the extended breakouts or the extended networking session. But for our own marketing collateral, we will record the main briefing. To introduce Gottfried Ludovic, who is going to speak to us a little bit about the strategy of the healthcare segment for T-Systems. Gottfried, if you'd like to step up, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you so much, and a very good morning also from my side to each and every one of you here in the virtual space. I'm really happy to welcome you all this morning to our session. As Jackie already said, I'm now Senior Vice President of Health Industry and the head of the health industry for T-Systems. I have a background in economics. I did my PhD about statutory health insurance companies. I have a background in consultancy and I worked the last 4 years before joining T-Systems 75 days ago. I worked in the Federal Ministry of Health and was the Director General for Digitalization and Innovation for the last 4 years. I also would like to welcome our guests today, and I'm happy really to be here together with my peers who will join us later and present very interesting information about our strategy, about our products. But I also want to welcome especially you, the analysts and sourcing advisor partners. Actually, it's really your rankings, it's your insights, it's your guidance, which is very important when it comes to engaging actually for us with our clients, to know what you're thinking, your questions, also to develop offerings and also to reflect on our strategy. We have great speakers and topics for you on the agenda today. I also hope that lots of you afterwards will then take the opportunity to take part in our breakout sessions where we can discuss more intensively the one or other topics, and also then we will talk about our strategy and market positioning, which is very important for all of us, but it's also really a very good moment for myself to reflect on my first 75 days at T-Systems. I strongly believe that there is a huge opportunity for T-Systems to grow in the healthcare market, and with our adapted strategy of the vertical integration of all our products and entities in the healthcare market, I think we chose the right setup now to move forward and to become an even more relevant player in the upcoming years. So on the next slide, actually, we just focus again a little bit about our strategy at T-Systems. And this strategy is to focus on dedicated industries to provide vertical industry solutions, including the full value chain. So example like infrastructure, application, operation and management, etc. And our full portfolio, if we look at SAP, IoT, if we look at 5G, if you look at security or cloud, will now be reshaped to provide even more value to the specific requirements of our industry clients. This is exactly what is behind the idea of vertical integration and of the vertical dedicated industries. And our vision, actually, our purpose is the motto of today's event. And I think this is very clear: smarter health for better care. And we, as T-Systems, as a leader in healthcare solutions. We aim for utilizing our skills, our industry offerings with our partners. Our mission by that is to set a new industry standard when it comes to cloud-based platforms, and also to act as a gatekeeper in mission critical intersectional control points, and we will talk about that later on. Our goal and our actually belief is that we want to be the trusted broker for data in the healthcare setting, and at the same time and be the enabler for the transformation of digitized healthcare services. And we always have to keep in mind we are talking about a very highly regulated market, and this is also where we see our huge chance and our huge opportunities. Creating the vertical health at actually the beginning of this year, so in 2022, was not only important, it was a huge step forward to increase our market traction. So far, competencies were widely and actually also decentralized allocated within the company. So we have the DTCS providing clinical solutions. Then we have the DTHS providing healthcare solutions, telemedicine, including also other players such as public authorities. And then we have the T-Systems part offering vertical and horizontal business solutions such as security, cloud services to international customers, and health insurances. And our focus, our strategy, and what we are working day to day to make it really working perfectly is aligning all these units under one roof to create synergies and strengthen our go-to-market and positioning in our core markets, and will support, and I'm totally convinced by that, our expansion in other segments furthermore. And so one question, and you see it on the side, is also why actually decided T-Systems that we have a focus on healthcare. And there are four main dimensions for that. The first is we have very, very long-standing experience in the market. We are serving hospitals in several countries now for decades with a self-developed hospital information system, clinical ERP systems, and much more. We are furthermore a leading outsourcing provider for the statutory health insurances and their IT providers in Germany. And very important, we have a large team of experts, including physicians, scientists, nurses, more than 700 in total. Second point, we have an international footprint. We have a strong appearance in the focus market, so especially DACH, Spain, Singapore, but also the ability to deliver around the globe. And third, we have a truly amazing, broad and loyal customer base. And just to give some impressions, like if we look to St. Pölten, this is a hospital in Austria, they are his customers since over 25 years. But we can also go to the US and look to the Presbyterian Hospital Group Operator, health policy dealer in the US and New Mexico. We operate the whole infrastructure, including over 1,800 servers within a high available private cloud environment. Or if we then go to Spain, the Generalitat de Catalunya. This is a local healthcare institution in Spain. We are the key IT and digitalization partner, providing secure infrastructure services, but also digital solutions such as an image storage solutions to manage 52 million daily operations. And obviously the fourth way why T-Systems decided to focus on healthcare is this market is growing and we are growing at the same time, and this is also the focus of our next slide. Because the vast growth rates in the healthcare industry are the key decision drivers also obviously for us to nominate health as a focus industry. And just to look at some data, if we go to the OECD data, the average spending on healthcare increased in 2020, not only, but also due to COVID, from 9% of the GDP to approx 10% of the GDP. And if we look to the industrialized countries and just look at the demographic and technological development, this spending will grow rapidly in the upcoming years. And our ambition is to grow by 19% CAGR from 2021 to 2025. So from 356 million in 2021 to 726 in 2025. To deliver our ambitious growth rate, we primarily focus on 4 key growth areas which were already in place for years and decades, but where we see a lot of potential in the upcoming years. So first, we focus on hospitals, and we see a chance of 12% CAGR from 2021 to 2025. And obviously, we see, for example, if we look to Germany, that the Hospital Future Act, where until 2025, 4.3 billion euros will be invested in the hospital market, are one key driver for us to deliver the growth we are talking about with our products like patient portals, the discharge management, our hospital information system, our mobile patient record, our offering in rehabilitation software, and for furthermore, not mentioned, but obviously to be mentioned, security. In the days we are talking about, the question of security for health data and data security is a very crucial topic, and we have a really very competitive offering here. Second area will be the health insurance providers. So the statutory health insurance companies, especially in Germany, just keep in mind they are spending every year 250 billion euro in total. And we have here a unique position when it comes to provide compliant and secure outsourcing services to the major Germany statutory health insurance providers and their IT providers. We are already doing that, but actually those very, very big companies are now getting started in their real digitalization way forward. And we are the trusted partner in a highly regulated market because social data has special requirements regarding data privacy and data security. And we are the trusted partner number one to support them and to enable them on their way to the digitalized health insurance company. So the market continues also to grow there. As I mentioned before, they increased like 7.6%, but we are absolutely convinced that since the digitalization deficit in Germany needs to be caught up and the investments are on the way, we expect a growth rate by 26% CAGR from 2021 to 2025. Our focus offerings here, to be a little bit more specific, are sovereign clouds, so moving them from their on-premise clouds to the cloud services in a sovereign and data secure and data private offering. The electronic services, the question of IDP, so identity providing and management, identity management, and we have a huge win. Dirk will talk about that later on. Third part actually is the question of public authorities, and we see that the largest contributor here is the telematic infrastructure. We are a very, very trusted partner for telematic and for the Gematik in the last years, and we expect the growth here again from 7% CAGR from 2021 to 2025. The focus offering here are a lot around the question of safe infrastructure networks called telematic infrastructure 2.0. The question of information exchange, and the question also of cloud computing, sovereign cloud back here. And these growth ambitions needed an adaptation in our strategy, and this is actually also one of the areas why we moved to the vertical and why actually we consider here 3 crucial elements. First, we want to connect the dots on customer segment level to generate synergies by addressing more segments directly, like nursing care providers, but also like laboratories, pharmaceutical corporations, research institutions, and also medtech startups, pharmacies, and many, many more. And we must think this in integrated offerings to address holistic challenges and lever holistic potentials. Just to name a few examples, combining 5G campus networks with our mobile hospital information system, which will be operated in a sovereign cloud environment, ensuring rapid development and low latency. And other areas are medication portals accessible for different stakeholders like physicians and patients, or next general clinical studies building on our product trial complete in our offering. And we know we aren't the only player in the market. Absolutely. Others are also developing and evolving their portfolio, for sure. Therefore, it is very important for us to specify our own strategy and to foster our partnership plans, what we are working on to actually be competitive and grow more, even more than we are growing today. Putting everything together, the key essential for us are the market is very attractive, has intense growing customer segments and the right momentum. We have a bunch of assets, competitive offerings, and success stories to continue our journey. We are operating in a highly regulated market, which gives us a high opportunity, obviously, to be more competitive than others. But to deliver our ambitious growth promises, we must adapt our strategy towards a more holistic and integrated go-to-market approach by connecting the dots across customer segments and offerings. And with that, we just go to the next slide. And as I said before, we are a relevant partner. We have a lot of really trustful relationships with our clients. Just to name a few, if we look to the hospital in Bern, with us for a long period of time. If we look to the BARMER, the second largest statutory health insurance company in Germany, very long with us, or if we look to the University Clinic in Hamburg-Eppendorf, where we are running the SAP operations and maintenance, also a long time with us, and there are many more we count on, and they are counting on us to support them in their way to be digitalized provider. But to improve ourselves, we rely heavily also on your insights, on your guidance, and therefore I'm really looking very much forward to this event. I'm looking forward to fruitful discussions with you and further future touch points afterwards. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your interest. And with that said, back to Jackie.
Thank you so much, Gottfried. So I think it would be helpful at this point to take a question. If there are any questions, please raise your hand or use the question and answer segment that is in the chat. And while we get Axel up on stage to let us know, now that we've got a bit of perspective in terms of what the strategy is, have we got the right portfolio to be able to deliver this? Axel?
So a very warm welcome from my point to you, to all the audience. Yes, I'm really very pleased to be able to speak to you today, and I would like to give you a brief insight into the portfolio and the journey further development. As Gottfried mentioned, we have a unique portfolio and a long-standing relationships with customers in the healthcare sector. But like the sector itself, the offered services are so far have been very sector-oriented, and the interoperability can be characterized as rather interface-oriented for healthcare insurance, hospitals, clients, and public health. Please, next slide. What we wish and what we will achieve is to change this permanently according to the motto, connecting the dots, and to include industry, medtech, and startups, labs and pharmacies, pharma and research, rehab and physicians in our scope. From where do we get the certainty that this is the right way and that we can achieve our target? Well, as it's nearly always the case, the reason for bringing out all skills and potentials are the extraordinary challenges and projects. In this specific case, it concerns the digital approach of the pandemic management in the context of the Corona One app. Following the image, an interdisciplinary and agile team based on the Safe and Secure Infrastructure Foundation developed a vertical interoperable solution, the Corona One app, in a record time of only 50 days and made it usable for the citizens. This is a reference for connecting the dots, and along a very specific construction plan, the Safe and Secure Infrastructure Foundation is being designed and built with the attributes of technology and data sovereignty from sovereign cloud, data analytics and AI, and also telematics infrastructure, at least TI 2.0. This infrastructure makes it possible to implement every existing and newly created service in an interoperable, connected manner, and to make customer experience tangible for insured persons, patients, and also for citizens. At the same time, it enables to reduce process costs in the healthcare sector remarkably. With this in mind, 14 representatives from the healthcare sector have currently formulated the expectations of the Health Data Utilization Act and the action of the Federal Minister of Health, and this underscores those of our chosen plan. Please to the next slide. From customer segments to the Safe and Secure Infrastructure Foundation, digital services and products are networked in order to achieve cross-sectoral benefits. Using the example of patient journey, I would like to show how we achieve this using advanced digital products and services. The starting point is the recommendation of a health insurance for preventative care in the Injured Person portal and service app, and the option of using all doc dates to arrange a preventative doctor's appointment online with a suitable specialist. All doc dates online appointment service summarizes and presents all available appointments of the patient. Every appointment from every provider and every doctor is displayed and can be booked regardless of the appointment software used. So in case an inpatient treatment is required in the hospital, the digital admission management, the treatment management, as well as discharge and transfer management take place in the patient portal, which, for example, can be integrated into the IMID1 health information system. So further on, the patient portal offers an end-to-end approach, starting with the online appointment scheduling, then getting continued with the admission and treatment management, and ending with the discharge management of this patient. If then inpatient rehabilitation measures are required, it will be then the product RIA Complete that digitally controls the processes in the rehab clinic. RIA Complete is a modular solution for rehab facilities that covers all requirements centrally in one system. It includes administrative patient management as well as medical nursing and therapeutic planning and documentation. The data and recommendations provided during this patient journey are processed, analyzed, and made available to all advanced digital products and services in the Safe and Secure Infrastructure Foundation and specifically in the Open Sovereign Cloud. These examples show how we not only look at our long established and further developed offers, but also in which way we drive innovation together with startups and strategic partners. It's all about connecting the dots. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are on a journey with many opportunities and exciting additional new digital products and services for the healthcare sector. I would like to thank you for your attention and look forward for further exchange here on the social network. Many thanks to you, and yes, have a nice time with us in the virtual innovation room, and let's get in discussion and frequently asked questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Axel. I would then swiftly move on to ask our colleagues in Singapore, Akadush and Gopi, what is it that we're doing from an international component that is cutting edge? We have promised our audience some cutting edge use cases. Please, if you could come to the stage.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Distinguished guests, great T-Systems colleagues, thank you for having me and Gopi with you and giving us opportunity to talk a little bit what we are doing here in T-Systems Singapore in terms of genome sequencing and data analytics. My name is Arkadiusz Szopor and I'm Managing Director of T-Systems Southeast Asia, which is a strong and long-standing family member of our healthcare unit, and that's why we are also acting in close collaboration with our colleagues in Germany and in DACH. Today, I will give you a short introduction of the topic, and then Gopi will show you a live product which we have in terms of genome data analytics. And I want to talk about it because this is a great example of showing how digitalization is shifting things which are old. Because when we look on human genome project, actually we are talking about the relatively old project. It started in 1990, finished in 2003, so 19 years ago, cost $3 billion, US dollars. And it ended up with full mapping of DNA of human, 37 trillion cells. And when you translate it to IT and when you convert it to the files, full human genome gives you 200 gigabytes of data. But as researchers started to analyze our genome, they found that only 2% of genomes they still could understand. This is related to genes which codes proteins. And 98% of our genome, which is dark matter genome, is still not fully understood. So currently, research is still a lot to discover how this 98% impacts all of us. And it's going through next generation sequencing, which you could find on the next slide. And you see that we are all very similar. We are 99.9% the same, but only 0.1% it makes difference between us. This is equal to 3 million different factors, differences in our DNA. So you can imagine that those 3 million differences you need to permutate. It gives you infinite number. Yeah, because just one permutation of 100 is 2.3 with 554 zeros. So 3 million is infinite number. It drives all of us to be different. Yeah, we have all variations of our DNA. We look differently. We have different skin, hairs, but it also goes to diseases which we have, yeah, embedded with us from our parents, from grandparents, and which evolve also directly on us. That was very challenging with genome sequencing before because technology didn't allow us to be efficient and fast. But currently, the sequencers which are available, the analytic tools which are available make it way faster and way cheaper to do this sequencing. And it drives us to the key topic, which is personalized medicine. And personalized medicine, you could see it on the next slide, is actually touching all stages of the healthcare. It starts from the diagnostics, which is faster in terms of when you could do diagnosis. It is also way more precise, and this is not based on symptoms. This is based on our DNA. It goes to treatment, where we can have dedicated medicine which have less way side effects, but also medicine which acts way more stronger than general medicine used against specific illnesses. So the treatment is also way more efficient. Finally, with this, the cost, which is for patients and payer, is way lower with personalized medicine. And I know that it could be, topic here could be a little bit controversial, but again, we are acting, T-System Singapore is acting in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, where healthcare scene and healthcare setup is very different than in Germany or in Europe. Also in terms of regulations, but also how you finance healthcare services here. So moving to shift, and this is on the next slide, from traditional medicine to personalized medicine. You see that with traditional medicine, we go for our routine testings. Usually we are focusing on our symptoms. And what is very important, traditional medicine is focused on illness. So the medicine is for the illness, the same for all patients, for people with the symptoms. But in reality, it's very different. Personalized medicine gives you advantage of way advanced diagnosis, very precise diagnosis, and starting with prevention on early stage. It's also casual treatment, where it's not anymore general approach for everyone, but this is very individual treatment depending on your personalized DNA characteristic. And it also drives for approach for drugs, which are not anymore against specific illness, but drugs which are tailor-made for your body, acting under specific illness. So it's significant shift, which before was not really possible to run in an efficient way due to the speed and due to the cost. But going into digitalization in DNA sequencing and analytics of DNA, we could really shift to personalized medicine. And that's why we decided and we agreed that it will be great to start this project here in Singapore and set up our platform and start to work with our customers to use it live to go and shift to personalized medicine. With this, I would like to pass the stage to Gopi, who will show you what we are specifically doing in this area and how our platform looks like. So Gopi, stage is yours.
Thank you, Arkadiusz. Okay, so Arkadiusz was talking about the genomics, the impact of genomics in healthcare. I would like to start with by giving you a typical process flow, what is happening in genome sequencing. So when we say genome sequencing, thanks to technology and then the invention of sequencing machines, which can be available in the market currently. So the sample is being taken from the patient or from the person who wants to explore the genomics data, and then the machine helps us to sequence the data, and then it can able to give the 200 gigabytes of data, which Arkadiusz was talking about. So that's we call as a primary sequencing. But this 200 gigabytes of data is very difficult to read to find out the 3 billion letters inside our whole genome. So that's why in a very typical scenario, there is a bioinformatician coming in. If you go to the next step, the bioinformatician team, collects this data, and then they will manually verify, or they use ad hoc tools to find out what is the difference or variance compared to a reference genome. So once they have confirmed it, they will pass it to the scientific and then the clinician team, which is on the next step, where they will collect all this information, and then they will go back one step to find out what is the analytical path which the person or the patient has been looking at, whether it is related to a research or whether it is related to pharmacogenomics, whether it is related to any clinical trials, and so on. So after this is done, then it will be passed to the actual care team, to the patient or to the person, where they will collect all this information, make a report which can be understood by a normal person or can by a general practitioner or to a specialist. And that's the workflow ends here. So here, this is a very complicated workflow, and how the laboratories are handling it today, which we can see it in the next step. Next slide. So from a primary sequencing, after it has been done from the machine, there are multidisciplinary team involved in this process, starting from bioinformaticians, scientists, and then the clinicians. So they will be spending too much of effort in terms of identifying what it is there, and then any lab, which they want to start a genomic sequencing or they want to expand their current business, they need to employ this whole team, which will be a cost to them, and this is one of the problem they are facing today. And addition to that, if any of the new workflow which they need to bring in, say a new disease comes in, or they want to go with a particular drug related discovery, so they need to spend too much of effort on the research and development. So that is also another impact in terms of labor intensive process. So these are the current problems which the labs are facing today, and how we are helping them in terms of coming up with the technology to fix this gap. And we can go to the next slide. Yeah. So our platform is completely no biometrics information or skills required, because this is an inbuilt in the platform, because this platform or the product is built by the bioinformatician team who has spent too much of time on their research. So the clinical insights and intelligence is already inside. And instead of taking the raw data outside of the machine and then process it separately, the platform gives a flexibility to integrate it directly to the machine, so that there is no manual process involved. And the complete secondary and tertiary analysis, which we call it, is being hyper automated. And there are more than 200 plus workflows addressing to pharmacogenomics, research, and then the clinical wellness and health. So those are already available, so that the lab or the research institute no need to spend too much time on the development. So they can use the ready-to-use workflows available in our platform. So considering this, starting from the secondary analysis to the tertiary, the amount which they are going to spend is less than 30 minutes or so, based on the workflows they select, which is a very major development in terms of this particular space. And if you go to the next slide, which would be like the live demo, I would be showing you on the platform. Yeah. So this is the T Systems for Genomics platform. So the first one is about the dashboard. So here, the laboratories or the research institutes or the hospitals, so they can able to see what are the different analysis which are done, and what are the different notifications or alerts which are given by the system, so they can able to take some actions on it. And these are some of the analysis which I've performed before the demonstration, where the samples which are collected from the patient from the machine are processed successfully based on the clinical workflow has been selected. And one of the example here which I'd like to show you is the Acmg Workflow, basically the American College of Medical Genomics, based on the polygenic risk score to understand what is the possible risk of getting a disease based on the hereditary, for example. And it gives a ready to read report starting from a raw sample. So this is one of the report on the Acmg polygenic score. So this shows what are the risk involved in the particular genotype analyst, and what are the actions which can be taken. And there will be suggestions also to consult with the clinical team or the clinico-genesis team. Okay, so that's how the report is generated in terms of helping the patient or the person to get some kind of clinical insights based on the genome sequenced. So this also has samples here where we can able to add samples either directly from the standalone platform, or it can also be directly from available URL, either from the laboratory which are hosted in a distant area, or it can be also integrated directly from the laboratory machines, which process the primary analysis. So that can be taken directly because of the size of the data which you are receiving, and it's not really portable. Okay. And going to the workflows, so this is where the major difference in our platform. So there are around 200 workflows available, which are addressing to multiple analytical area, starting from clinical, starting from research, from pharmacogenomics, and so on. So maybe I'll show one of them. Yeah. So you could see here from a clinical next generation sequencing panels. So we have hereditary disorders which are relevant to Acmg reporting, pointing to different input sequencing, and also on the consumer sequencing process in terms of polygenic risk scores. There are reports available which can be ready to use. And in terms of research, there are other workflows which are available as well in terms of NGS panel search, WES and WGS, which is a whole genome sequencing or whole exome sequencing. And it also, in terms of rare disease workflows like somatic cancer and any other cardiac-related hereditary disorders. So those workflows are readily available in the platform, which can be used. So this would be my last slide of the presentation. Now I'll pass it back to Jackie.
Thank you very much, Gopi. That was actually very, very interesting to find out what it is we're doing from an international perspective. So without further ado, then Dirk, I believe you're going to tell us a little something about identity management, but more importantly, you've got some exciting news for us.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much, Jackie. Thanks for everybody here to join our session today. It's really a pleasure for me to speak to you and to explain you a little bit our strategy and our vision regarding digital identities. My name is Dirk, and I'm the tribe lead of self-sovereign identities. And as the name already saying, we are processing secure self-sovereign identities for our customers. And what does it mean, especially for the e-health and e-care sector? This is exactly the purpose of my presentation for today. So therefore, coming from this, I would like to give you also a little bit of background of myself, because in the time before I have started this tribe regarding the self-sovereign identities, I was responsible for business development for T-Systems overarching, and before that I have set up a startup within a really DAX company within Germany, the Telekom Security, which I led 5 years. So therefore I have a really good background in cybersecurity and in data privacy, and this is really needed if you speak about secure digital identities. I think everybody of you knows that the digitalization takes place, and there's no doubt about. But the key question is digitalization without really secure digital identities at the beginning of the process. Does it work? And the key answer is, and you know this, it doesn't work. So therefore, you have to have really secure identities. Without that, you have no chance to process this kind of a digitalization in all areas of the society, not only in the healthcare sector. But there's a problem, and as you can see here on this slide, we have a little bit lost already the first half time of digitalization, and we have no really set up an ecosystem regarding services of cloud, social media, standard office software, payment, identity providing, and so on. We have given up this to Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. You know this all. Coming from this perspective, I think we have to strive for a new situation, and therefore we set up a strategy within T-Systems, within Deutsche Telekom, but not only we, a lot of other German and European companies did it as well, that we are now looking and fighting for every kind of sovereignty in cloud and data, sovereignty in artificial intelligence, and for sure also in the ID space, because without this ID sovereignty, you have no chance to provide such kind of secure digital processes for your patients, for your customers. And therefore, our vision is a really clear one. The future of digital identities is the principle of self-sovereign identities. That means we would like to give back to the citizens their sovereignty over their data and identities. This is very important, that the customer is really standing in the middle and the center of all our activities. And as you can see here in this slide, the customer is standing on the smartphone, because we would like to manage for sure those digital identities on the modern smartphones, and nothing in the web like an login credential like email and password anymore. It has to be more modern, it has to be more secure. This is exactly what we have to execute on. And to explain you a little bit for those which are not really familiar with the identity principles, you see on the left-hand side a little bit the principle which is currently used by the most of all web services, the Federated Identity, in which there's a central party, a central provider, to which you hand over all your credential data, and from there you log into the services, to the e-commerce services, to the banking services, whatever. And the problem is that for sure this identity provider knows everything regarding you. Is knowing your behavior, is knowing what you are doing, what you are logging, what you are buying at least at the end. And this is a little bit why everybody thinks, okay, it's so easy and it's so cheap doesn't cost anything to me, but it's not true. As you know, you pay definitively with your behavior, with your user data, with your identity also services. Therefore, our new principle, the self-sovereign identity, is to turn the pyramid around. And you can see this on the right-hand side. We have definitively now put the customer into the middle, and there's no data stored in an IDP service anymore. This is something which is definitively only owned by the customer. This is a property of the customer itself, and the customer decides what kind of data, what kind of identity credentials is handed over to what kind of a party, to what kind of a verifier or a third party association for what kind of a purpose, and you are deciding what you're doing with your data and with your identities. This is exactly the new principle, and therefore we say, okay, identity or the ID sovereignty is not only a technology, because a lot of people saying self-sovereign identity is a principle on which you can technology distinguish into an issuer and holder of the smartphone and the verifier as such. For sure, it's technology, but we would like to understand this more as a general principle and use this also for other technologies, because at the end, the customer, the patient, is not really aware about what kind of protocols, what kind of technology you're using. They would like to be in the middle of this process. They would like to decide what kind of IDs they could use and to whom they have to hand over those things. Therefore, there are two huge interleaved projects to win back this kind of ID sovereignty for Europe. First of all, there's a European project started by the EU President Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commissioner. They set up a project to create really an EU identity in which we are involved in as Deutsche Telekom Systems. And we have started in Germany a special program together with the Federal Chancellery, with the former Chancellor Angela Merkel, on which we set up an ecosystem for digital identities together with a lot of DAX companies, as you can see here. And I'm very proud that I and we as Deutsche Telekom were part of this game, on which we have developed really an ecosystem of this kind of a new ID wallet in which we can manage this kind of principles. For sure, it's needed if you would like to bring all those credentials that you see here on the right-hand side onto the smartphone, that you have really a lot of use cases implemented. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And therefore, on this picture, you see that we are not only speaking about the health insurance, IDP services and the healthcare market. You have to do a lot of things more in the public area with the access to the governmental use case, something in telecommunication, check driver license, creating a new bank account, access management to building, to software, whatever you want. This is exactly what's all about behind this kind of a strategy. And we are pushing this kind of a mass market breakthrough for all our customers. And I come to the at the end to a very good example in which we have already achieved this kind of a vision and a practical order coming from the customer. So if you look a little bit into the overarching vision then as I said, we have here outlined that we are looking in Germany together with T-Systems and our subsidiary Verimi. I come to this in a second, what Verimi is standing for a really integrated ID wallet, which is able to serve all use cases independently, whether it's out of the public area, as you can see here in the first two lines, or it's in the finance sector, it's in mobility, transport, hotels, hospitality, telecommunication, and for sure all the healthcare. And our idea is to have one ecosystem in which you are using one technology of an ID wallet, which provides this kind of new technology of self-sovereignty. And this one using with a really robust and really matured technology, which we have developed in the last couple of years. Therefore, the idea is not only to speak today about the ID solution for the healthcare market, which is for sure in the focus in. We are also speaking about what we can do with the same technology, with the same wallet, to get access to the other use cases here as well. And this one is not only for Germany, as you can see here on the right-hand side. We would like definitively to use the same kind of ecosystems, the same kind of ID wallet technology for the EU ID wallet, which is currently in the development, and we would like to provide all our experiences, all our technical know-how and skills into this kind of a European project, into that we can reuse this kind of technology on a European level as well. If you look a little bit into the challenges of a health insurance company to come a little bit closer to the dedicated topic for today, then I would like to highlight those 5 things here that you can see a little bit on those equalizer technology. And for sure, the health insurance companies, they are standing in front of a lot of challenges. And they would like to have, on the one hand side, the same user acceptance and legacy support of all the traditional ID methodologies that they have created. And for sure, there are all the old credential setups like email and password existing, and they have to support them for a while. But on the other side, they would like to look for new innovative technologies to bring the physical chip card, as you can see on the second line, onto the smartphone, into such kind of an ID wallet into. And this not only for the e-health and insurance card, also for every kind of digital identity credential, like the German ID card, like the passport, like your driver license, like your certificate of birth. Everything what you can imagine could be part of this kind of a really secure identity on your smartphone. And you have to support for sure different protocols, the traditional OpenID Connect, and you have to support the new self-sovereign identity as well. And not only the availability in Germany, also when you're traveling along, when you are a tourist in the other countries in EU. This is exactly something on which the German authority for all the health insurance companies, the Gematik, has outlined a special framework. It's called Telematic Infrastructure 2.0. And in this infrastructure is outlined exactly this way how you have to handle this kind of new digital identities. And it has to be certified by the Gematik, and it has to be certified as a sectoral IDP by the Federal Office for Cybersecurity and Information Security in Germany, the so-called BSI, as well, and also for the authorities for data privacy. And coming from this angle, the key question is how it could work. And this example you can see here. On the left-hand side, you see the existing wallet that we have created as Deutsche Telekom together with our subsidiary, Verimi. And we have already the ID card in, very soon the driver license is coming. And you can use this kind of a technology of a really secure ID wallet and put it in a white labeled approach to use it in the health insurance companies, as you can see here on the right side of this slide. And this is at the end, in the lower part, some kind of a certified sectoral IDP, which I explained, and it will be certified by the authorities. And this kind of a component could be reused as a software asset, not only for one health insurance company, it could be reused for a lot of health insurance companies. And you see the selection of very important health insurance companies of Germany, the right corner above. So therefore, this is exactly the story. And there are for sure some kind of individualized demands as well, on which we see such kind of special integrations for those companies also. We are doing this together with our partner, with Verimi. Verimi is a subsidiary of T-Systems of Deutsche Telekom, and we as T-Systems acting here as a general contractor for that, and bringing all the experience and all the needed process support for all the level of insurances into this game into. And as you can see here, with a really high sophisticated ID wallet, which we have developed all together with the other German DAX companies. This is a very important story that we are going in a tandem into the market into. And when we speak about we have something up and running, then you should know that this kind of a setup was decided in 2017 together with our with other big German DAX companies, as you can see here, in some currently 21 Verimi shareholder. We have invested more than 100 million, and with this solution, we are currently going also with a public contribution, as you see here, that Bundesdruckerei is also part of the game. With this solution, we are putting this kind of a story, this kind of a really integrated ecosystem into life, which is not only doing the initial identification, as you can see, also the running day-by-day identification. You have qualified electronic signatures. You have also payment with that. And the good stuff is we support all kinds of protocols, all kinds of technologies, and for sure, all kinds of trust levels. And this one is certified by the BSI, as you can see here on the slide as well. For sure, IDAS conform. We have a special license from the finance authorities in Germany to run the payment in PSD2 as well. This is exactly what we have all with us. And this is not only an vision or a dream, it's reality, as you can see here. This is the existing live wallet with the German ID card stored here. You have the COVID certificate in as well. And the good stuff is you can combine such kind of ID credentials already digital on the smartphone in your ID wallet. As you can see here, the identity is proven. That means the owner of the COVID certificate is the same one like the owner of the ID card. This is exactly what we have here already achieved. And this one we adapt now and bring it into a white labeled version into the healthcare market as well. And later on in the breakout sessions, we could explain a little bit more detailed how does it work, especially when you are processing a level of insurance with substantial and high, when you have to read your German ID card, where it is stored. The good story is we support all technologies, also to save this kind of a really high encrypted German ID card into the smartphone. On this side, you see that you have it on the level of substantial in the storage way here. And on this side, you see that we are also able to put this into the trusted secure elements of the smartphones then you can, besides storing the data, also storing the private keys and the crypto components of the German ID card, and can manage all the processes around the level of insurance high for your customers as well. And this kind of technology we have offered in a really comprehensive manner to the German health insurance market.
Thank you so much, Dirk. Perhaps you could elaborate before you get off the stage and we hand over to Michael. Why specifically us? Why has trusted us with this particular service?
Really good question. First of all, you should know that we have a really good and long time lasted relationship in a lot of other services, develop their special customer portal. And coming from that, we know quite well their internal demands, their processes, and especially also their hurdles and obstacles that they have to struggle with. And coming from this angle, we had really good insight. On the other side, they had understood that everything what they will get from our side is not only an ID wallet, which is treating their customers with the most modern technology from the current point of view and also from the future point of view. They have also understood that they will get with our solutions the backward compatibility to use with their own ID services, also the other ID services in other industries. So therefore, they can use with their e-health ID wallet also the services in the public arena, the services in financing, banking. To create a new bank account, you can activate a new SIM card. This is a possibility which is given to them when you are using this kind of a meta integrated ID wallet as an kernel for your services. At the end, the key question was only could we bring it into a white label version to them that is really an isolated, encapsulated service for the farmer. For sure, we did it, and we did it with the right kind of sustainability and reliability. For sure, we are using 3 different data centers. We are fulfilling all the demands regarding geo-redundancy, and we have a special confidential execution environment regarding our sovereign cloud. But I think regarding that, Timo will explain a little bit later on what does it mean when we speak about a confidential execution environment. This one is also part of this trust center in which we are running this highly secure encrypted identities. Because you can imagine if somebody would hack this is the biggest problem that you could have, because then all the processes beyond this step are not relevant anymore. You have to be really sure that everything which is related to your customer data is so secure that nobody could come into. And based on our experiences with telecom security, based on the technology that we have in cloud, that we have with a long-lasting customer relationship, this was at the end based, although for sure in a really attractive and aggressive price, the combination why selected us.
Very comprehensive answer. Thank you so much, Dirk. Then let's, in the interest of time, Michael, if you could please join us and let us know what you see from a trends perspective. What is the future looking like for T-Systems?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Waldbrenner. I'm Managing Director of the Deutsche Telekom Clinical Solutions Private Limited. I've been an entrepreneur for more than 30 years in the healthcare sector, and finally ended up here at the Magenta T. And I'm happy about that. And as you can put the puzzle pieces together, which you already heard, we really are very serious about entering the market. And the just announced win from Dirk about identity management clearly shows what Gottfried mentioned, that we want to actually play an important role in connecting the dots and putting the important puzzle pieces together, so to say. Okay, let's look a little bit what is driving digitalization in the healthcare market. First of all, of course, it's a regulated or semi-regulated market in most of the countries. Data privacy, security plays an important role. How has the COVID pandemic actually hit us from a healthcare point of view? I think, and I think you all agree to that, we are the ones who not only suffer by this, maybe personally in private life and from a general economic point of view, but we also see some benefits in that. One is, of course, it acted as a booster or turbocharger for the whole digitalization. Before COVID, a fax machine was still considered a digital device. I think this is now almost history, I would say. We still use it in certain workflows. But it certainly has changed it, but it changed it in a very important other way. We have, and that brings me to the second point, demographic change and lack of resources. COVID made it happen that actually working together in a virtual way was also suddenly possible in the hospital area. Of course, there has been tumor boards and other, let's say, e-health playgrounds where this was tried out. But for instance, when we did a project meeting with a customer about implementation of hospital information system, it has always been an on-site meeting at the customer. So 20 people were actually driving there. We had meetings there for 2 hours with a total travel time, if I accumulate all this, of maybe 100 hours. Suddenly, this is all now virtually possible. But that also brings another huge advantage. We have now, this morning, we have people joining here from Singapore, like Arkadiusz and Gopi. And that is another thing. We can utilize people all over the world. So the lack of specific skills or domain knowledge is actually, I don't want to say it's not critical anymore, but we have a huger talent pool to actually look around for these kind of skills. And that is also due to the pandemic situation. The new technologies are coming up. Well, if we say new technologies, according to our former Bundeschancellor, that would be the internet. But for instance, for the hospital in Germany, it is still cloud. Cloud and a sovereign cloud is still a new emerging technology for the hospital. Why? Because so far it has never been, let's say, used and never been sanctioned. And now in the Hospital Future Act or Krankenhauszukunftsgesetz, suddenly there was a paragraph that is even financing going to the cloud. And that is, I think, a quite big step. Nevertheless, we also see some downsides from a regulation point of view, like the state of Bavaria, the data protection guy there from the political arena says, no, this is not allowed in Bavaria. So we also have still some obstacles to overcome, but I think we are moving in the right direction. And another big shift, and Dirk clearly mentioned this, is we try to get away from hardware solutions, like in the telematic infrastructures, from these connector boxes, where you then have attached a terminal that is reading out another piece of hardware, the health professional card. We are trying to utilize more and more software solutions. And if we go to an arena of ambient assisted living and other things, then I think we will see the same. You cannot put a video camera in a person's home and check for detection if they stumble or fall over, but you need to have the existing sensors and use software intelligence to actually determine if someone has a problem, yes or no, and then you would reroute the ambulatory service in the morning to directly visit that patient first. So we need smart solutions for better healthcare from a software point of view and not more excessive hardware, which will be obsolete after a while. When we go to personalized medicine, then also, for instance, it's about, excuse me, genome sequencing, which was mentioned as an example. You have clearly patients which actually require, instead of 10 milligram or 5, which is, let's say, the usual tablet dosage, maybe they need 7.5, and then you can even print this kind of medication in modern hospitals directly in an eatable, digestible way, and utilize this for the benefit of the patient. And since we already now, with the Hospital Funding Act, we are actually going into a unit dose robotic closed loop medication, we could as well steer a robot that is actually creating the tablet for this patient. That is not rocket science, that could be possible. If I look at these 4 slides in total, what is needed for that? Obviously, it's money. And there also the Hospital Future Act has given funds to finance all this. Unfortunately, it stops in a few years. And of course, we need to discuss about what afterwards, how we will be finance the then started and executed projects when they come into a maintenance mode, and what next. Digitalization, I'm sure, will never end. Let's move to the next slide, please. So how will it actually affect the landscape in health, and how will it change in the future? The patient centricity is key, and that has been clearly shown also in the Hospital Future Act, and also with the what we call digital radar, which is something like the HIMSS-EMRA model, which we did in Germany for most of the hospitals. They participated, and we can clearly identify that patient centricity is one of the aspects that has been in the center, and the other one was digitalization, so to really digitize everything directly at the source, but I will come to that later. When we talk about access to personal data, it is also, and maybe there also Corona helped, a study has shown that more than 50% of the population is also willing to donate their data, for instance, for science purposes. So I think we will also see a shift where data from a hospital will sooner or later also shared with the pharma industry in an anonymized way, to speed up the clinical studies and to have maybe a vaccine. Then the next virus is already knocking on our door, to have a vaccine maybe even quicker, or in a let's say better way than it currently has been. We are driving towards a population health. Now we all can discuss what is a population health. I'm sure what we see there is that we see it in a more holistic way, that healthcare is not starting when you enter the hospital or the general practitioner, but healthcare starts actually from birth with preventive measures, since we already know that every euro that is invented in preventive measures is typically later saving many more euros when it comes to treatment. So we have to change our healthcare system and our IT solutions also from that angle. And that is also a very big shift currently, to move into the preventive care. And that includes the involving of the patient, non-professional data, fitness trackers, and all the other devices are there. Good. The data, mobilizing the data. When I often use the word "let's go mobile," and then people think that I want to sell our iPad solution, our mobile solution of our hospital information system, but that's not what we mean. We mean that data needs to be available everywhere where it is actually required. And if it's at the patient's bed to give an explanation about the next procedure, then so be it. And if it's at home where a patient wants to check something, then it has to be there. So we need to have, like with the medication, we need to have the right data at the right time for the right person. And that is something which we need to do. And when I look at the word holistic, it has 2 flavors. Quite often people think at holistic only from a data point of view, but it also includes the data from outside the hospital. It includes data from devices, and it includes also the workflow. It is complete, sorry for the word, stupidity, that a nurse is actually writing something on a piece of paper from a digital device, and then walking to a PC in another floor and then typing it in the patient record. It can lead to huge mistakes just by maybe not able to read what they have just written. it's time consuming, it's not adding value, because right where the data is originating, it needs to be recorded in the EMR. And then also you can make sure that all the data is there, and you can later decide on how condensed you want to have a view on this data. So from a workflow point of view, from a data point of view, everything needs to be holistic. And the other word we don't want to see again is the word monolithic. Some competitors in the market present their own systems as a kind of monolithical system, where they want to give the perception that they have a one-stop shop for everything. I think in the future this will not be possible. Only with an open architecture, with a collaborative approach, and with a good partner ecosystem, in my opinion, we will be able in the near future to cater for all needs in the healthcare space. And there are the next laws around the corner. In Germany, that's ISIC, ISIK 2.0, which is actually forcing the hospital information system to, let's say, expose their data for others to consume. And so they want to, let's say, break the oligopoly of the hospital information system provider so that others can consume this kind of data. So we need to put more effort into collaboration and intersectoral communication than on preventing our own borders, so to say, and try to occupy the space in the hospital. If that is the only, how do I say, the only USP that we have, that nobody can kick us out, I think that's not good enough as a USP. We need to add value. We need to add value for the hospital and the patient and the healthcare ecosystem. So we strongly believe that only with partners we can create this value and also gain productivity at that time. And that is going from ambient assistant living to over the general practitioners, over the hospital, then later to the rehabilitation and so on. Next slide, please. I try to speed up since we are 3 minutes over the time. So what are the implications for us? Of course, the connecting the dots that Gottfried meant in the beginning. Also, we need to create synergies. And one of these important dots is directly leading to the second one on top. That's the identity management, the security. I mean, it was for a good reason that in the Hospital Future Act, 15% of each of the different topics has to have security built in, and there was even an extra specific security topic, because security is key, and Dirk also clearly stated this. Nevertheless, also we need to have a plan B. If a hospital is compromised from security point of view, in a digitized world, how do we make sure that they still can access their data? For instance, from every transaction, we create a PDF, we store it on a completely different server, which is not accessible from the outside. So ultima ratio, we can switch back to a paper version, let's say if there is a complete power out or whatever kind of crisis. And I think we need to prepare for all kind of unthinkable crises in the near future. That also the last years have shown that the unthinkable is possible in these days, and therefore security, but also backup plans are a must. Artificial intelligence is also one of the key drivers. Everyone is currently saying we need to do that. In the hospital, we have so much information stored from so many different sources, and we can access it all. You have lab companies that say, oh, we have all the lab data, but we are missing this and that from the vital signs for a study to do this and that. We have it. Another one is saying, oh, we are into protein analytics, so I need a little bit of this and that and this data. Now I'm exaggerating a little bit. And the shoe size of the surgeon, well, we even had to have that. So we can actually provide all the data for all thinkable AI solutions here. And that is clearly a shift from, if I use the Gartner terminology, from a documenter to a consultant in the near future in this ecosystem. Partners are key. I think I already mentioned it. We need to have a tangible and rapid value add. All our, let's say, horizontal offerings, the security, cloud services, managed infrastructure, all that we have is actually like the window putty that is gluing different parts of the puzzle together. And on top, we have our vertical solutions, which are then tailor-made for the different segments. And that is, I think, one of the key assets that we have. And if we look again at the patient itself, the current devices that the patient have down to the ECG from the smartwatch will be important in the future to also integrate that into the systems. So we have to be open-minded from the doctors, from the insurances, from the devices outside, ambient assisted living, rehabilitation, pharma. We all need to club this data together and utilize it for the best of the patient and the healthcare ecosystem. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Michael. Right, so here we are. We've reached almost the closing of our session, and there's a few questions I think I would like to pose, and perhaps let me pose to you, Godfrey, Michael, or Arkadiusz. You know, based on what Michael has been saying, there's, you know, quite a diverse market in which our hospitals are operating globally. There's different regulations, whether it's in Singapore, it's in Spain. And the question I've got for you is, how do you prioritize the portfolio development for the different segments where we are?
Well, Jackie, this is a very good question, and I like also if Arkadiusz or anyone else want to join me afterwards. This is highly welcome. We actually have a look at that at the moment, and we prioritize obviously for the markets where we see the highest growth rates. So we are very focused at the moment on the statutory health insurance companies and to develop our portfolio there. I mean, Dirk made this wonderful example of the IDP and the tender we won with pharma, and obviously this will be a huge priority for us to be very present in this area and the tenders which will be coming from other statutory health insurance companies, and to be very competitive in our portfolio from that point of view. The second focus obviously will be then the hospital area. I mean, Michael mentioned a lot of examples, and also Arkadiusz and others, where we heavily invest in the question of how to actually get into the more mobile and not monolithic oriented information systems. And this is something where we have also a huge experience actually in the automotive sector, ST systems, and a lot of experts there. And we actually use also those experts and use our competitive advantage to adapt that then to the health system. So this would be two very, very highly prioritized projects to be mentioned here.
Thanks, Gottfried.
Following on Gottfried, what he mentioned, giving you some insights from Southeast Asia. Actually, from Singapore perspective, when we zoom just only on Singapore, when we look on the structure of the population, the age, it's a lot of similarity with Germany, but setup is very different, but quite combining. So Singapore is way less regulated. And on the other hand, thanks that advanced in some areas, especially population health. On the other hand, Germany is very well regulated, data privacy, sovereignty, which we mentioned, which is missing in Singapore. And on both sides, we see development and progress of education and going at the end of the day for the same goal. So Singapore is learning. We could offer to Singapore our solutions and our approach for privacy, for security. On the other hand, as you have heard, we gave just example of genome sequencing analytics from Singapore. Another area where we are also focusing is step-down care, where we are already providing a national-wide solution, and we are expanding that as well, which could be beneficial later on to Germany and to DACH segment. So it's combination of two. Of course, the market in Singapore is and Southeast Asia is smaller compared to Germany, but it helps to test innovative solution and check fit to the market, which later could be rolled out in Germany.
Thank you, Arkadiusz. Perhaps we could move over to the next slide so I can explain to our attendees what we look forward to before I would ask you to close the formal session for us, please, Gottfried. So coming up, for those of you who have registered, those of you who will remain in the session, we will activate breakout sessions where you're able to personally interact with our experts and senior leadership. We have two very exciting topics, including a tour of the virtual health space. The first is the future of clinics, of future hospitals, where Gottfried and Michael and Fabian Berger will give us some insights. The second session will be around cloud services for health. And there we've already heard from Akadush Gopi, but they will also now be joined by our cloud expert, Tumor Levy, and Andreas will take those of you who remain within the main plenary to walk around and have a look at what we have in our virtual health space that's very exciting. So how that will work, we will activate the breakout session and you will have the option to move yourself to the session where you would most like to attend and have insights from the team there. If we could move to the next slide, please. So from an influencer perspective, the influencer management team would like you to please take note of our upcoming influencer event that will be on the 30th of June, specifically for cloud services. And we look forward to welcome you once again to an exciting briefing by T-Systems. And with that, I will ask Godfrey, perhaps you could close before we activate the breakout sessions where everybody can then have a pick of who they would like to further engage with.
Yes, thank you so much. So first of all, very, very big thank you to Jackie and for guiding us through this to this morning session and for the wonderful preparation. So thank you very much. Thank you to the team, to the very, I think, inspiring and interesting insights they shared. We hope you enjoyed that, and we are really looking forward to the breakout sessions. So warmly invited to join us there, and then to have probably a more intensive debate also about our perspective on the various topics we have. In any case, you see we are committed to growth, and we are committed to grow in our fields nationally and internationally, and looking forward to a very well ongoing discussion now in the breakout sessions. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your time and your support, and have a good day, and see you in the breakout sessions. Goodbye.
So what we see here is the main stage of our virtual space that we have set up for our healthcare approach. The most important thing of this space is that all the participants join in this space as a full body scanned avatar. Like you see, for example, the avatar of Gottfried Ludewig, of Michael Waldbrenner. These are full body scanned avatars, scanned from our partner Dupe. And that's the most, let's say, important difference to other platforms that you may know, because as you see, there are lots of platforms where you have no body, no legs or whatever. And what we have learned in more than 250 workshops together with our clients here in the spaces is that they feel that the clients or the participants feel very convenient with such, let's say, more natural appearance of the participants. So it's a more lifelike atmosphere. So what you see here is the plenum, and the idea of this space is to make on the one side such sessions that we have made this morning, on the other side also to present the healthcare solutions that we have, or let's say industry solutions that we have or that we are setting up here in such an environment. So what you see, for example, here in the first room is a, let's say, a training environment. It's a training environment regarding COVID-19. What you see here is an instrument for measuring the heart rate and the blood oxygen rate. And then as a trainee, you can put on the mask to the patient and you can walk through different scenarios. So that's one of our major approaches, that we are trying to set up training scenarios here in this virtual space to prevent let's say, leak of available spaces for trainings. Actually, we are starting, for example, a prototype together with the university clinics in Bonn, where we have a very big partnership, and we are starting a proof of concept regarding trainings of MRTs and CTs, and also for hygienics. So hygienic training is a very important topic in hospitals and also in home-based care. So that's a very good approach to train this here in such virtual environments. And you have to see it can work like a, let's say, gameplay. So the trainee enters, and then he's asked to do step by step the process. And if he's doing his steps right, he earns credits, and if he's doing something wrong, he has to do it once more. So this is only an example. The second example that we have is in one of the next rooms. I'm walking through to this one here on the left. And what you see here is computer tomography. And this is also, in a first step, an educational case. Means these kind of machines are very expensive, and we have only a few of them in each hospital. And the most important thing is that they, let's say, earn money. And there's no much space for doing trainings. But actually, we are trying to set up a training environment with some of the biggest manufacturers of these expensive machines. And the idea is that the trainee can work with this machine like a, let's say, digital twin. It has full-blown functionality, and you can position the patient, for example, in the machine. You can switch the necessary adjustments and things like that. And you can train this before, at the end, you make your examination at the, let's say, real-life machine. That's a very good approach to scale up these trainings of these expensive machines. So the next room, please follow me. The next room is a surgery environment. This is a complete digital twin of a surgery or shock room, let's say, in Essen at the university clinics in Essen. And it's dedicated also for training, but on the other side, for pre-operative stress syndromes. Means if you are a patient and the doctor tries to explain you what's happening within the surgery, you can do this in VR. You put him a VR headset on, or you give him a browser link, and he can enter the room, and the doctor can explain step by step what will happen with him. This is very important for elder patients, let's say, or patients with some kind of anxiety, or on the other side, also for children, because children have often lots of these traumas in front of a surgery. So only to give you another example. And now I will step to a complete different place here through this hallway. And what you see here is our brand new approach for, yeah, let's say, next generation tumor board. As you already know, if you are a cancer patient, the doctors have to come in some kind of tumor boards together, and they are discussing their the upcoming steps or therapy that they are going to make with the patient. And actually, they are using 2D collaboration tools like Teams, like WebEx and things like that. And the problem is that only one doctor can present the patient history, can present the DICOM data, the data that are coming out from the CT or MRT. And in this case, we are going to overcome this by using a 3D space. So you come together with all your colleagues, like my avatar, for example, and other doctors here in the space. And then everybody who is simultaneously here in this room virtually can interact with the software. You can drag and drop the things, you can move things around, as you see here, this MRT imaging slide. You can choose slices, and you can point on this. And this is one of the most important things. I've been sitting in last week in a real life tumor board, and the most important thing is, or yeah, actually not possible thing is that some of the others can point on something on the imaging they are discussing. And what we are also going to implement is some kind of volumetric streaming. I've selected this, and then you can walk around and you can step closer and closer, and you have a very good impression what kind of cancer, for example, this is, or what are the exact measures of the cancer in planning the surgery at the end. So this is a brand new thing. We are going to start this this summer with as a proof of concept. And this is a complete new approach of doing these types of tumor boards. Yeah, that's very simple, because what we have learned out of our workshops from other industries, most of the people don't have a VR headset, and most of the people don't have a gaming PC. So we enabled the platform. It's completely cloud-based in our Open Telekom cloud, and future-wise in our sovereign cloud powered by Google. And the access is very easy via web link. So the only thing you need is a normal PC, a normal laptop or tablet maybe also. And you open the link into your browser and you are in. It's the booking of such an environment is quite simple, because it's more or less like booking of a WebEx session. So you select a date, for example, Wednesday at 3 p.m. And then you invite the participants, and prior to the upcoming meeting, they get the invitation with their personalized link, and they can enter. And on the other side, because we are here talking about real medical data, the moderator of such a session can grab all the patient data, all the necessary data that he needs for that prior to the meeting. And then when they enter the meeting room, the virtual meeting room like this one, all the patient data are already there and they can discuss it. And the good thing is you can do it with experts from all over the world, not only in one city or in one country. You can include, if necessary, experts from all over the world. Okay, I think for first step, that's all.
you.